Hello there, I'm Remy, and this video is for you if you are a business with an existing website, but it just feels like a nice to have. That is, it's not exactly your main source of generating leads, or your customers so far haven't mentioned your website in any way, either by saying, or they were able to get more information on your website, or they found you through your website. Okay, and so this is basically just talking about the aftercare of you having your website. So now that you've gotten your website, there are a few things you need to keep going on your website. And the first thing is content. And so you will notice that a lot of websites have blogs, right? And this is the ideology behind blogs. A website in the first place is supposed to be a hub that answers all the questions that a customer might need to decide to go with you, or to decide to need your service, or to decide to get your product, right? And one of the ways to actually convey that answer that they're in the right place is through articles, right? This is how articles help you. So you do already understand that the importance or the viability of Google is that people are actively searching for answers on Google. And so you might have noticed you in your own search for answers that when Google will serve you answer, besides us being in an AI generation now where Google also saves you AI generated answers, you will notice that once you scroll past that, the next answers you start to get are from websites. That is, Google literally just lifts bits of website content that answers the question you're asking. And that is how you are able to be found for the service you offer by just answering questions. And so if you already have a website and it's not been generating leads, or your customers have never said that was the channel through which they found you, or it's not exactly much of the bulk of referrals you get, you would need to consider ways where you could answer questions on your website. And there are two ways to do that. One is the blog that I've mentioned. The second is by actually loading your main pages, that is your landing page and your service page and your office page, with answers to questions. And so another thing you would notice website having is frequently asked questions. You may have also spent time on some websites where after they have told you about the offer, they start to give some educational type of content. This website may not have blogs, but what they've done there is sell blog content on their main pages. So after the customer might have scrolled past their offer, they had more reassurance to needing that service or needing that product, right? And so that goes to you serving valuable content on your website. Another thing is how the SEO of the website was set up. Now, this can be a bit technical, but basically what that does is, besides the questions that you readily answer on your main pages, that is also part of SEO, there is another bit around how the technical bits of your website are also doing for SEO. We have a couple of things that we call meta tags, we call schema markups, and all of this go a long way in really showing Google that this is what this website is for, and it's the kind of people to show it to. And if you're particularly a service that is catering to specific service areas too, that is also part of the things that are coded into your website beyond just the content itself that people can read. Okay, those are a few things to look out for, and then I can also help you review on your website to see how well it's performing and ticking those boxes. Another thing is if you're having elements on your website like images, where they are being explained. Another thing that's also technical a little bit is how your website is arranged in terms of semantics, right? H1, H2, H3, all of that, really showing Google that your website is well structured, and also your sitemap. And so if you have a website, for instance, that is being continually updated, or you've never actually submitted your sitemap, that is one of the reasons why your website might not be showing to customers. What a sitemap does is, and this is submitted to Google Search Console, right? What What it does is it immediately tells Google what your website is about, the pages on it, and when it was last updated. These are ways to show Google that your website is active. It is not enough to have a website that is dormant. From time to time, you should update your website, and whenever you do that, you want to update your sitemap too. Depending on the platform that your website is currently, that may already be automated, but it's also a nice to have to confirm if your sitemap has been submitted to Google Search Console. And again, like I said, that is something that we can have a chat about and I can review for you. And again, besides the technical bits and the SEO, there is also something we call visual perception. And so the way your website signals to people in terms of the visual design also goes a long way in how your website performs. And so if people come to your website and they do not already get a kind of feeling, or they are not immediately convinced that your website does what your service is all about, if a lot of people are bouncing off your website, that will negatively impact how Google perceives your website. If a lot of people come to your website and they immediately bounce off of it, that is telling Google that you are not serving content that is valuable. And since you are a business that is serving value to people, we need to address how your website is communicating it best to people. Now, you may or may not be a technical person, and so if you are not so technical, you may not know if your website is being communicated in the most effective way possible, that is in terms of content and visuals and the overall arrangement of it all, right? And again, we can have a chat about that just to look at where your website is right now and what can be improved.